Hello, Leon again. First of all, of course, it's nice to meet you. And today we will talk a bit more about your product, right? Scriversi. So could you please tell us a bit more about the story of launching your product? What the main problems you've been focused on the beginning and like what is doing now?
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity. It's good to share this with you guys. Also, Scriversi, in terms of its origins, if that is the question that you're asking, is I've been in the IT industry for 25, 30 years. I'm giving away my age now, but for a very long time. And one of my biggest frustrations has always been the inconsistency when it comes to project documentation, coding documentation, deployment, anything that's documented related is always the one thing that gets left for last. There's never time for it. There's never resources for it. And it's hardly ever in a project plan. So as a software engineer, you always end up having to go try to interpret scripts and looking at people's comments to try to decipher what it is that's actually happening here. And I think things have just gotten worse as we move from traditional client server into multi-server microservice architecture, where you just have so many moving parts. And unless you know what it is you're doing, unless you're actively involved in it, it's just impossible afterwards to take proper care of it. So we've always been very, very working hard at making sure documentation is there. Long story short, it got to a point a while ago where I just thought to myself, hang on a sec, this is just a solvable problem. I mean, we could put robots on Mars, but we can't keep our documents up to date. There has to be a solution to it. So I approached friends and colleagues of mine who I've been working with for some time. And I said to them, look, this is what we want to do. This is the problem, and this is how I'm going to solve it. But we're going to have to outsource this because we just don't have development capacity in the places where I'm working right now. As easy as it was to explain the problem, I can tell you now it's still difficult to explain the solution. So these guys in the end sort of went on a leap of faith and they said, okay, well, we trust you. We think you know what you're talking about. So yeah, let's go for it. And that's when I reached out to Relevant and I said, guys, come help me make this work.
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with you. Like also in a while, I had a project with a large quantity of documentation and probably like there are more than 200 documents for the product and all of them were linked. So if something changing in one, you have to update the rest of them. Exactly. And it was just crazy. It was crazy. It just took me half of the day just working with documentation. So I really would like, to see your product live. And maybe even will try on any of my projects. I know like currently you're more focused on like DevOps part, right? But it will be also interesting to see how we can use it in other parts of project management.
The principle is the same, right?
Yeah.
It's about getting your documents to update themselves automatically as much as possible. I think just from a marketing strategy perspective, it makes sense to keep your message simple and to stay focused. And we know that this is a huge pain point in the DevOps development industry. So, but there's no reason why this won't work very well in every other industry.
How do you plan to test your product, and actually who will do that testing?
Is one of the challenges with Scriversi is this is a brand new kind of solution, and you a part of doing a beta is you also need to explain to the people what it is about. So it's not just here's another document editor, go play with it, let us know what you think about it. You have to be much more circumspect in choosing your closed beta clients. So our approach has been to say we in 2 weeks time in December we're opening up for closed beta. Closed beta would be like the family and friends discount version, where we're just going to get people that would be brutally honest with us to say this works, this is really suckish, this part of the UI doesn't work well. We need honest feedback without me fearing that the word will get out that this is a crappy product, it's a brand new product. So I need the freedom to rapidly innovate and make changes during the closed beta while I get proper honest feedback from people I know and trust. And then towards the end of Q1, next year,
Mhm.
we will open up for open beta. And for that, we're already setting up our website so that people can sign up and register to be part of that. And there will definitely be some form of a couple of 3 months of subscription afterwards for people that participate in the beta program.
Wasn't you afraid, to launch something absolutely new on the market? Because it's easier, like to make improved copy of any already existing products, but it's absolutely new. So,
yeah,
like, how did you feel about that?
I'm nervous. I'm still very nervous, and my partners in this venture are equally. I think they're more supportive, but I'm really nervous because we have to get the message out right. But I firmly believe the product will speak for itself. We've worked very hard in terms of the usability, making it as intuitive as possible. And once you understand the principle, um, it's it's going to be very easy for people to start using it and get hooked on it, and then not want to do it in any other way. It's actually very one of those face palm moments where you say, man, we should have done this a long time ago. So I don't think it's going to be that hard. Once you get the message across, it'll start to sell itself. I'm sure of it. Yeah.
So how was it? Like maybe you faced any challenges? Because again, creating, something for developers, it's not that easy. It's not, those guys are really picky because they create a lot of software, and like they really, when they really like when the UX is super strict and user friendly and so on. So how was it for you? Like maybe you faced any challenges, or was it hard
Yeah.
or not? Because 25 years in IT market, right? You're working. So
Yeah.
probably you have something to compare with.
Yeah. Look, I think just to kick off with when we started with this, the the initial part was really exciting, and it was really fun working with Natalie and the team. I think she's the best thing since sliced bread, and so is everyone else that's working with her. And it was the first time that I sort of ventured into this outsourcing an entire dev team, from project manager to scrum master to everything, testers, designers, everything outsourced. And I was just sitting and driving this car in certain directions, everything else taken care of. So I think a couple of challenges that I faced obviously is as we move towards November, December, and we knew that we're going to have to have a MVP to demonstrate to the investors by July this year. That all the talking started coming from Russia's side in terms of what's the intelligence from the US in particular. So that did make us nervous. But I think what helped a lot was the constant communication from Relevant, and we could see that you guys are putting things in place, and just the pragmatism and the calmness with which you guys took this on the chin and said, "Well, life goes on. We're going to make it work," really put us at ease. I made some notes here in terms of the challenges. Obviously, we mentioned how hard it is to convey the solution, the way these things can work, even for the team. So now I'm sitting in meetings with the relevant designers, and I'm saying to them, "This is how I want to do this," and I just see these blank stares on the on the Skype meeting because. So why do you want to do this kind of? It was really hard to bring it across, and the minute I gained critical mass on that side of momentum, it was much easier. But again, conveying that approach, and then I think the biggest challenge is there's no point of reference. It's not like we're doing a development IDE or we're writing a client interface for a a database, or we doing CI/CD. This is something that doesn't exist, so it's very hard to come up with scenarios or with designs. We would sit and say, okay, so how do you link this particular paragraph to update automatically whenever the DevOps deploys something in Jenkins or in how? And then we work through a couple of iterations of working on the UI, only to 2 days later say, well, it's actually not working for us, guys. Go back, delete it, start again. So there was a lot of iterative movement. And even as far as July this year, when we got to the minimum viable product demonstration, I mean, 2 weeks before the MVP, we had a meeting and we said to each other, guys, what we've done here in principle works, but we're going to have to rip it all apart and start again because we use REST and we think GraphQL is going to work better. So I'm sitting there in the MVP demonstration with the investor and saying, guys, this is what we have now, but I've got bad news for you. We're gonna rip this apart and redo the UI part because there's a better way of doing it. But so there's a lot of lessons that I had to learn, that we as a team had to learn, that normally I think would have been faster. It actually worked on a known kind of problem solving.
So tell us a bit more about like how you made the decision to launch the startup, and probably, I don't know, top or like first 5 steps you would recommend to every future founder, what you would like to do, like what you prefer to do. Like first, define your target audience. Second, and so on, like step by step.
I'll try. Years ago, I think it was in the early 2000s, there was a animated movie, Robots. I think it might have been Pixar, I may be wrong. And the guy in there had this famous quote, my kids used to love it, where he said, see a need, fill a need. He was an inventor, this robot guy. And that always stuck with me. And as we, a couple of years back when we started working on a particular project and this whole documentation thing kept nagging, and I just searched the internet for solutions and for ways to solve it. And eventually, when you get to a point where you say, well, I can see there's a need and I can definitely see there's no solution for it. Or maybe there is a solution, but I can do it better. Then I think it's worth looking into. This to me was a huge step in terms of moving me out of my comfort zone, in terms of always, you have a bespoke project and you work on it. This is completely different. And I don't think there's a recipe for it that will work. What I can tell you is be realistic with your expectations. Keep it simple. You need to have friends that are honest with you to say, man, you're smoking your socks. If this isn't going to work, you're going to waste your money, go away. You need those kind of friends around you, because everybody, if you must have seen it, you go to a party and you say, I've got this new business idea, and everybody, yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be great. Go do it. You invest your money and tomorrow, you're bankrupt, because people don't like telling you that, you're wrong or you've got the wrong idea, the wrong opinion. You need those kind of honest people around you.
I would like to hear your opinion about the remote work. So again, like you have experience, like a lot of experience in working with people in the same office, right? From your previous background, and now you have all your team remote. So what you can say about your experience? So how was it?
I made a note about this because I sort of thought this is going to come up. The whole thing with remote work, I think it's one of those serendipitous kind of events where when COVID struck, SaaS sort of was mature enough to take it on and say, we're good, we've got this. Had COVID struck 20 years ago, when everybody was still client server, we would have been in a real mess in terms of work from home. So I think it was just perfect timing. And for us, it was almost seamless. In the other companies I'm involved with, when we saw, things are going to happen and people are going to have to work from home, it literally took us 2-3 weeks to make sure everybody's got a power supply, proper internet access, properly set up at home with a table and a chair. And right now, in none of the ventures we're involved with, we have anything that's server based or that's office bound. Everything is SaaS. So it works very well for us. And I don't think I'll ever want to go back to something where my office is 100 kilometers from my house. And I used to, pre-COVID, commute there and back on a daily basis for 18 years. I'm not going to do that again. And I'm not going to expect any one of my people to do that ever again. I think we found a new way of balancing work and life. And honestly, I think we're now spending more time doing work than ever before. It's now you have to take a conscientious decision to say, now I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to put my keyboard, switch my laptop off. just go and take the dog for a walk because I've now been sitting here for 10 hours, whatever the case may be. Work from home works. In our industry, it works. I know there are industries that it won't do, but for us, it works very well. But it's a two-way street. You have to have the right people that work for you, and you have to treat them, and you have to do right by them. If you don't, you're going to have to micromanage them because you're not going to trust them, and they're not going to trust you.
Yeah, that's true. It's all about the personal relations inside of the team. Yeah, and like I'm currently meeting many different people, like in London, Amsterdam, and so on, and all of them are saying like, we are afraid to launch a new product with the outsourced team because they're not here. So like, what was your feeling about that? Because your team is like, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers from you, right? On another side of theirs. Yeah. So like, how you made this decision, and like, what you got as a result of such choice working with Relevant?
There's a simple part of this question and a complicated part of this question. The simple part of the question is, since we're all working from remotely anyway, it becomes a moot point whether the guy is 20 kilometers from you or 20,000 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers. It doesn't make a difference. It's important to sort of work on some of the timelines so that you don't have this. Some people have to wake up at night to talk to have sitting meetings with people on the other side of the globe. But in the current socioeconomic climate in the world, where it feels like there's a lot of people coming into this industry with very, very minimum experience, and for them this is very hard. It's almost impossible to gain experience and insight if you don't sit in an office with other people that knows much more than you do, and you can just overhear them talking about things, and you can sort of, like a sponge, just absorb it and learn from it. So this is worked well for us, but I feel sorry for people that are coming into this industry now. I think it's going to be much harder for them.
Mm-hmm. In terms of socializing, right? Or like getting new knowledge as well. Yeah.
I mean, simple example. I'm doing a deployment and I'm containerizing something and I'm stuck, and I Google and I ask my colleague for something on Skype and he gives me the advice, problem solved. Had I been in the office while I was struggling with this, I might have overheard two engineers, they're talking about a query that they're trying to optimize, which wasn't even part of what I was interested in. But now all of a sudden I get exposure to that. The next time when I run a SQL statement, I'm going to, hang on a sec, I better go and talk to these guys to see if my query is properly done or not. So it's your potential to grow and to become a good, solid software engineer, I think, is much harder if you're isolated. I don't think we've solved that problem just yet.
Yeah. Like sharing the knowledge is probably, let's say, it's going to be way harder than it was previously. I would like to continue the topic around the current situation in the market, right? So it's currently not the best one, right? Companies hired a lot of people in 2020, 2021, when it was COVID time, and everybody expected, the boom in the IT industry, and especially, of course, like SaaS market. So now we see absolutely another picture, right? A lot of companies firing their employees from 10 to 15%. And like, maybe you analyzed, or I would like to hear your personal opinion about the future of SaaS market, because, right, like currently you are finalizing your product, you're launching the beta testing, and after that you will release the product. And how do you think, will you face any challenges in these terms of, reducing the market, or no?
I think as a start, I think the days, look, it's a cycle, it comes in ebbs and flows, but the days of seed investors or early investors throwing money at you because you've got a good idea are gone, at least for the next 5 years. Hopefully sanity prevailed, or it looks like sanity prevailed. So in terms of from a business perspective, we're going to have to work hard. for Scriversi to make good money. And I have no problem with that because we're building a proper system and we know it will be successful. SaaS in general, again, I think 20 years ago, the world would not have been ready for SaaS. The world now is ready for SaaS. I don't see the SaaS market space shrinking in terms of its market value. I think there will be a cooling down period, but you can already see inflation is sort of slowing down in the US, but in the rest of the world is still climbing. So it's probably going to balance each other out. People would still have money to spend. But the thing is, in my experience, I only use SaaS systems that I need. It's not like a Netflix subscription that you say, I'm going to pay for this, and if I don't watch something tonight, I'll just watch it tomorrow. I need the tools that I use. And there's tons of those. And I pay my subscription every month for those because I need them. So if you have the right tool, you'll be fine. And if you provide the right solution, you'll be fine. But just be realistic with your pricing models. I had an interesting discussion. I won't mention names, but a very popular open source API documentation platform that's been commercialized. And we used them for some time. And then they came back a couple of weeks back to say, now your next year's license is probably going to be like double what it is this year. I said, well, in that case, I'm going to go for the open source solution. Bye. So, now I have to go and spin up a virtual machine and host my own version there, which sucks. But people must just be practical. People won't pay money for SaaS when it exceeds a point where it makes sense.
Yeah, so like you have to find the right balance between price and value, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm probably just finalizing our today's interview. Like it was 30 minutes. Time going pretty fast.
Wow.
So yeah, I just would like to ask you about the future of Scriversi, right? So we were, like in December it's gonna be closed beta. First quarter is gonna be open beta. How do you see the Scriversi later? Again, maybe in terms of features, in terms of some plans. Maybe in general.
I think our target is to say by December next year, we need to have 2,000 companies using Scriversi. Then I think we'll have achieved our primary objective to get the word out there. You can either aggressively market and throw a lot of money into marketing. I don't think we want to do that just yet, especially not with a brand new product, because you not only need to sell the product, you need to sell the idea and the concepts, and that's going to be very expensive. You have to throw marketing money at it. So we want to organically grow and just use the platforms that we have and the networking that we have to spread the word and get feedback. In terms of the product, I really don't want Scriversi to have like 5 times more features in a year from now than what it has now. It's got a particular need that it fills. It automatically updates your document based on external changes per paragraph. It keeps history per paragraph. You can restore history per paragraph. You can collaboratively work on the document at the same time. So it does what you need to do for a document to say, this is a document automated authoring tool. You write your document, it's going to keep itself up to date. That's what it needs to do. So if it means in the next 12 months, I invest my money in making sure we can do proper scaling when the loads come in and the volumes come in, I'd rather do that than throw more features at this. We'll see what the market suggestions are, and good feedback is always going to be handy and welcome. But I'm not going to try to build another Microsoft Word with 2,000 features, of which most people just use 20.